The petrodollar is actually a device invented by Kissinger and Nixon.
The standard of living of all Americans can be traced back to here, the vast oil-rich deserts of Saudi Arabia.
In the early 70s, after the Arab crisis happened with the oil embargoes, OPEC basically tripled the price of oil to the Western world. And at that time, America realized that they were vulnerable because they were importing about 70% of all the oil they consumed.
To secure a reliable foreign source of oil, U.S. President Richard Nixon sent his Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger to Saudi Arabia for a secret meeting. The result was a pact that still stands to this day.
If Saudi Arabia, which at the time was the world's largest producer of oil, would sell the oil in US dollars, America would defend Saudi Arabia and make sure the House Assad would stay in power.
As a direct result of this U.S.-Saudi agreement, all other oil-producing nations also adopted the dollar as the de facto medium of exchange. Demand for it increased exponentially all over the world, and soon it had a new name, the petrodollar.
Your currency is only as strong as the demand for it, just like anything else, the supply and demand. Why the petrodollar is important, it causes a demand for the US dollar. A lot of Americans don't realize that over 70% of all the $100 bills in the world are actually outside of the US. There's more $100 bills in Russia than there are in America.
This stockpile of US dollars in countries around the world is because oil is bought and sold using the greenback.
If oil starts trading in non-petrodollars, such as gold or a basket of currencies, or if China and Russia start trading in yuan and ruble rather than US dollars, that demand isn't there. And the way of life for the average American will be done. It will be worse than the Great Depression.
Think about the volume of transactions that the dollar will no longer be involved in. Saudi oil shipments to China. China is the biggest oil importer in the world, and the Saudi Arabia agreed to settle transactions with China using the yuan.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on today's show, we're joined with Bo Polny for Whoa with Bo, I believe part 6 now, part 6 of Whoa with Bo. But I can tell you, folks, today's show, Bo's going to talk about what's going on with the timing of events and world events, potentially the collapse of the dollar, what's going on with China, Russia, all these current events. But the one thing, James, we're not going to talk about, we are not going to talk about how you might or might not have monkeypox, because we know you don't have monkeypox. There's no need for us to even bring that up, and that's not what we're going to talk about, James.
I don't have monkeypox.
Okay. Bo Polny, welcome on to the Drive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Clay, wonderful. Thank you. Good to see you again. As always, this is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of really important things to talk about. And yes, we are living in some really spectacular times right now. So thanks for having me. James, good to see you too.
You're very welcome. And so I'll let you share anything you want to share on today's show. I probably will push back and argue with you 5 to 7 times on today's show.
Beautiful. And actually, I'm going to do, I did a little homework before this, and we're going to have some fun. On top of that, I'm going to have you actually do a little bit of research as well, too. So I'm going to try to educate you and put us, get all the viewers, give them an understanding of the times that we're living in. So here we go. All right. So we are living in not political times, even though it may feel like it. We're living in biblical times. So very, very important to understand. Those who are interested and want this free download, free PDF, just like stop this interview for a second, scan this like you would at a restaurant, and boom, you get this whole thing for free. All right. So last time we were on the show with the both of you, we spoke about the beginning of the end. We talked about the first 2 seals of Revelation, and and those are not the seals that Clay was describing so beautifully. These are the actual seals that are written in the book of Revelation. Okay, so just be really clear about this. First seal was Corona. Second seal was peace taken from the earth. Both of those opened and manifested in the year 2020. Some interesting research you might like here as well, Clay. So all of the 4 horses represent a different color. And at the end of the day, what you'll end up seeing is all these 4 horses represent the Arab nations. However, there is one thing that I discovered and God revealed to me this week, which is rather fascinating, that there's one Arab nation that does not have four colors. The flag only has one color. One color. And guess what nation it is? Saudi Arabia. Their flag only has one color. Now, this is something God revealed to me as well, too, which I think you might find really interesting, or a coincidence, because there aren't any coincidences when we're talking biblical prophecy, okay, or biblical timing of things. So when you study the word, so we have the US petrodollar contract, correct? For 50 years. If you study the word petro, the Greek translation of the word petro is Peter.
Really?
Peter. So petro is Peter. So who's the one flag that has one color? Saudi Arabia, whose name is Peter. All I'm saying is this is very interesting because the other Peter is the one standing in the Vatican. So there's your two Peters.
James, is what he said made sense to you? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'd never seen all the Arab nations' flags lined up like that.
So it brings some clarity?
It is.
Okay, Bo, back to you, sir.
Okay, so Clay, so you talk about, end times. We talk about horrible things that are coming that are written in end times, scary things that are written in end times. And so the point I want to make across this slide presentation is, in order for these events to happen, and we got a war going on in Israel right now. Many people think we're stepping into World War III. See, this is the understanding that first off must happen is you can't have a World War III unless all four horses are first riding and then the Antichrist comes on the scene. So we talked about the first two horses. The next horse that's about to manifest right now is the third horse, which is the economic collapse. So we're about to see something historic manifest here in the world. Now, interestingly enough, the economic collapse, you'll see it's a black horse, and the rider's got scales in his hands. Okay, so where else have we seen in the Bible scales that are representative scales? Remember the writing on the wall? So when Belshazzar was drinking out, he was desecrating the temple vessels. He was partying. They're drinking out of the golden vessels, and then the hand, everyone knows that saying, the writing on the wall. The hand appeared and wrote Mene, Tekel, Upharsim, which is translated to you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Your kingdom has come to an end. Interestingly enough, the prophecy was exactly true because that night Belshazzar died. So within 24 hours, Babylon fell. Understand, the entire nation of Babylon fell within 24 hours of the writing on the wall, because then King Darius came in and took over Babylon. So all of these things are biblical, and they've happened precisely on the mark. And I'm going to explain to you, we're going to talk further about why we're such an important year and time of 2023 and year 2024. So we talked about the money system, how they've created so much money. That was put us together, how they create money out of thin air. It's money by decree. And we're not in the millions, we're not in the billions, we're not in the trillions, we're in the quadrillions, which is 1,000 trillion. James?
1,000 is a lot of money. I can't even really conceptualize like 100 million, let alone a billion or a trillion or a quadrillion. That's a lot.
Now, James, if I asked you right now to count to a quadrillion, just one quadrillion, without sleep, it would take you 31 million years.
Oof. You need to get started.
So my point is, the financial system is a scam. Okay, so what they've done is they've printed this US dollar out of thin air. The US dollar is nothing but money by decree by a group called the Federal, which is they're not federal, and they're not a reserve. They're private bankers, I believe, out of Europe. Okay, so this is who controls our financial system. And then what did Rockefeller say? Allow me to control the money supply, and I care not who writes its laws. So now I wanted to show you what God revealed to me, Clay and James. Look at this chart at the very top here. Can you see it says historic cycle?
Yep, we see it.
Okay, the bottom is the present day US dollar from the year 2020. You'll notice, would you say that this is a complete replica of the bottom chart is a replica of the top chart?
They do look similar.
Yes. Similar is a great word. It's scary similar. You might want to even add,
Well, real
because
quick, I know what you're trying to do right now. You are trying to trick me into believing what you believe by using facts and data. But I have
well,
my hopes up.
that is one thing I've learned about Clay, is he will not believe you unless you give Clay facts and data. So I this morning sat together for about 3 hours. I put together some really good facts and some data for Clay that we're just going to dive into today, and Clay's going to dive in a little deeper. But I wanted to show you these are facts. So the top cycle happened years ago. God showed me where to look at this. This is years ago, the top historic cycle, and the bottom cycle is present day. So the past 2 years and 10 months, this chart hasn't failed. What did I say on our last interview? Both in September and in October, I said the US dollar, we use the word finished, and you go, hey, it's Finland, so you brought up as a joke, Finland, but the word finished means it was done to the upside and it was finished going up, and it's going to start to collapse. Now, look what's happened since October, point D. The US dollar has been falling perfectly like the cycle up here predicted. So the cycle here is saying that point D, September, October, the dollar's finished and it's in a down cycle for a long time. Okay. And so this is a close up. This is literally this is a close up, 4-month view here. But you'll notice here in October, it was finished, and you'll see it now. It's collapsing in the month of November. So the way the markets work, is those who don't know, is it's drop, 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 collapse. So it goes drop, 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 plunge. So we're in the drop, drop, drop phase right now, which is leading into a plunge. What's the plunge? The loss of status of the world reserve currency. So the dollar is heading down, and soon enough, after a few more drops, it's going to plunge. The plunge will be the loss of status of the world reserve currency. The second thing that's happening is the cycle chart God showed me with relation to the stock market. More facts. So the facts are that the stock market since the year 2020, the cycle, this was revealed to me by God in November, but it definitely was in the year 2019. And you'll notice this cycle, the 1-2-4 cycle, has predicted a crash right here in 2018, exactly to the month. It predicted the crash in the year 2020 when Corona came on scene, exactly to the month. It predicted the drop here in 2021 exactly to the month. It predicted the drop here in 2022 exactly to the month. And now it's predicting next month, we're supposed to see a market collapse roughly into the low 20,000s, with about a 30% market crash in the month of December, which would again correlate with what I'm saying here. Financial collapse, economic collapse is coming, and it's supposed to start into late November, but basically the bottom line is we're looking for the collapse November into December, and you'll see why, because this is correlating beautifully with biblical prophecy and timing. So let's talk about timing now. So I talked about the two things, the scales, which are going to represent both the US dollar, specifically the US dollar, and also a stock market collapse or crash of about roughly 30% in the month of December. Now let's talk about timing. 50-year Jubilee cycle, Leviticus states, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. So the 50-year cycle is very critical, but especially when you do 8 cycles of it. So 8 cycles of 50 is what? Okay, so if you Google, Clay, and this, just if you want, actually, I've done the Google here for you, but basically what the Google is, Mayflower, anybody can Google this. It's Mayflower, November 21, 1620. You'll notice that Mayflower, November 21, 1620 was the day the Mayflower landed. So now we're going to talk about Exodus. Genesis 15, it talks about the 400 years, and it specifically talks in Exodus 4, about the importance of 400 years. So 400 years from the Mayflower landing is 2020.
I want to bring this up real quick here. If somebody has a hard time following your timeline, let's be clear, just to make sure we're on the same page. Even if somebody does not agree with what your timeline is, we all can agree that right now that you're seeing many of these countries that are all teaming up, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're all teaming up to de-dollarize at the same time. They're all doing it right now, and this very technical tool, it's called BRICS Pay. I'm going to pull this up real quick. And again, I didn't get together with Bo before today's show and say, Bo, let's talk about BRICS Pay. But let me hit play here. I want people to see this. This is wild.
there's a really significant development. A new financial system, BRICS Pay, has been launched. This new financial settlement platform is going to change the volume of trade and the volume of financial transactions between the BRICS members. It will make it much easier for them, and as you know, those payments and those transactions will not be denominated in the US dollars. The bloc's member countries are really focused on de-dollarizing, and the new system may just help them do that sooner rather than later. BRICS Pay is a blockchain-based system, meaning it operates on a distributed ledger. It is not a central bank digital currency, CBDC, or a cryptocurrency. It is designed as a digital service that does not have a single acceptable currency. Any of the members' currencies can be used. The main goal is to enable trade and to enable financial transactions between the BRICS countries by bypassing the United States dollar and reducing dependency on Western financial systems, for example, on SWIFT. There are countries that have been cut off from SWIFT, right? We know this very well. And so BRICS Pay will effectively replace SWIFT functionality while also giving the countries of the so-called Global South control over its availability. Nobody will be able to pull the rug from under their feet using sanctions. Think about the volume of transactions that the dollar will no longer be involved in. Saudi oil shipments to China. China is the biggest oil importer in the world, and the Saudi Arabia agreed to settle transactions with China using the yuan.
Okay, so folks, again, if you just take the secular financial news, all of the financial experts and gurus that follow and report on BRICS are all agreeing that BRICS Pay has now been turned on, and now the BRICS member nations are able to conduct transactions no longer using the U.S. dollar, and that the BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're expanding their membership on January 1st. That'll be 11 countries, including Saudi Arabia, Dubai, et cetera. So basically, more countries will not be using the U.S. dollar to buy and sell oil than will be using the dollar. And so, Bo, what does that mean for people out there that are holding fiat currency when more countries begin not using the dollar to trade oil than who do use the dollar to trade oil?
So to go back to the chart that I just referenced earlier, all that she is saying is that the cycle that I've shown you right here, that's been going on for the past 2 years and 10 months, is foretelling what's coming. Okay. So I always write in my reports, cycles precede events. What does that mean? It means that God wrote the end from the beginning. So God showed me what cycle to look at. When I look at the cycle, what the cycle is telling me, you see, when the dollar is going down. So what is she saying? We're moving away from the US dollar into BRICS Pay, into other currencies. All that's saying is that the dollar is on a sell. What does that mean? If everybody's buying the dollar, the price would go up, like you saw in the cycle here, which starts here and works its way up. So this is countries and nations buying the dollar up into point A. Okay. And that's exactly what happened. Now, what she's saying is we're de-dollarizing, which means what? That the nations of the world are selling the dollar. So the dollar's on a sell. So it's on a down cycle for years. Now, the cycle that God revealed to me, which is already predicted in November, which we're in right now, we're seeing the drop right here in November, okay? And this is her talking now based on current events. So the news is nothing but current events. The cycle precedes all of that. The cycle is saying that this US dollar has got a down cycle for years, based on what I know right now per this cycle. And the month of November, December are going to be really bad. December even worse. And then horrific in the first quarter of 2024. So the dollar is, this cycle, which has already been aggregate for nearly 2 years, is predicting a complete and utter market US dollar crash in the first quarter of 2024. And that will be interesting because what does she say? It all goes live in January. You see how all of this is lining up perfectly per the cycle? It's all absolutely perfect how all of this is coming together. The other thing about the BRICS Pay is relation to the timing here in November, because remember, she was stating, her other thing is they're stating what their plans are, and they can have all the plans. And remember, the central bank, digital currency, and all these BRICS Pay, all of these things that they're planning, okay? They are exposing their cards as to what their control mechanisms are for humanity. What is Babylon? Babylon is, in its simplest definition, a control mechanism of humanity. And how are they controlling humanity right now? With the US dollar. So as long as the central banks are in control, they control humanity. And so this is where we have to see, we're going to see something incredible start to go down here, because their plans are going to come to an end for a season. And let me explain here. So let's get in more some details here. So we talked out specifically the Mayflower. It took us 400 years specifically. If you run a 3.5-year cycle, which is a half a day annual cycle, that literally takes us this May. This May is going to be mind-blowing. But before even May hits, we've got November right now that we're in is going to be historic as well. So let's go through some patterns as well here with regards to harvest. Okay, so Clay, if you could Google, just to verify that this is true, okay, so Google Thanksgiving Day 2023 in the United States. And the viewers, and what they're going to find, what the viewers will find when you Google that, if I can maybe open it up here, what they're going to find specifically is something very interesting here, which one of my followers actually sent to me. So what it's saying is right here, if you look at Thanksgiving, the history, you can see this right, just so everybody knows exactly what I'm saying here. However, right here, and this is a very reputable, this is date and time. This is one of the most accurate systems for they do all the time calculations throughout the world. So however, the first true Thanksgiving was in what year? What does that say, Clay? 1623. Okay, so what did we just talk about? Thou shalt consecrate what year? The 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout the land. Now, I want to go through some really incredible facts here, because Clay's a facts guy, okay? And so we know right now the first true Thanksgiving was in 1623. When is Thanksgiving this year? It's next week, November 23rd, 2023. So this Thanksgiving is precisely the 50-year Jubilee cycle since the first true
James,
Thanksgiving.
Is that connecting with you? Do you have any questions for Bo about that real quick here?
You know what? It makes sense to me.
It does?
It does.
Okay, back to you, Bo.
All right, so this Thanksgiving is the first true Thanksgiving. It is November 23rd, 2023. Now, who is the gentleman, the prophet, that prophesied that Clay would be doing what he's doing right now with the Reawaken tour, and he would, get to meet Donald Trump and do all? Who was the prophet? Was it Kim Clement? Was it not? Kim Clement. So guess what day Kim Clement died? Because Thanksgiving Day changes every year, but this year it's exactly 7 years to the exact death of Kim Clement. So this Thanksgiving, November 23rd, 2023, is exactly 7 years to the exact mark from the death of Kim Clement. And it's interesting, the 50-year Jubilee started on September 2022, which is the day he got a stroke. So it was 7 times 2, 14 months. This is expected to be hypnotic November that Kim Clement prophesied about. So we're expected to see something historic start here this month of November. And also, if you read Galatians, because Clay likes facts, Galatians 6, verse 7 states, "Be not deceived, for God is not mocked." What have they been doing for the past 7 years? Mocking God. For whatever a man soweth, thus shall he reap. Reap means harvest. So this specific verse is in reference to Thanksgiving. So we're about to see, starting this Thanksgiving onwards, is the greatest Thanksgiving the world's ever seen. So this will be so basically it's called reaping seasons. This will be for some great, and for others hell. I'm going to repeat that. Starting Thanksgiving, this is going to be for some great, for the church, and for others hell. I'm telling you, we are at an incredible point in time. Now, I want to read this to you because Kim Clement, who prophesied about you, Clay, You know what? I did an interview with Donna, and then her staff sent me all of Kim's prophecies. So I was doing some diving as Clay does, and I was doing some research, and I found this interesting prophecy of 18 years ago from November. Oh, November! What a coincidence! 13th, 2005. Let's read this. God says, "I've kept a place for this nation. I've kept a secret place in my heart for this nation. You have begun a 4-year harvest, harvest season." That will reach your children, your loved ones, your businesses, your husbands, your wives, your family will be shaken and brought into the kingdom. You have celebrated this morning and you have said, "We will whisper his name. We will shout his name. And because you have called out his name, I have no choice but to respond. A lion has roared. Who can but prophesy?" Now let's continue. "And this day I have brought this nation into a whole brand new place in this kingdom. Do you understand that you have gone through August, September, and October, and now I'm going to take you into 4 years of harvest that this nation has never seen or experienced. There will be a celebration around Christmas that will bring your enemies to the floor." Why? Because God has said, enough of this, enough of this, enough of this. How incredible is all of this lining up? This is literally 50 years to the exact day of when the 50-year, when they had their first Thanksgiving, and 7 years to the exact day of the death of the prophet Kim Clement. You can't make this up. And next, there's another Google search. It's really important to do. It's called transgenders in the military, Obama, June 2016.
Real quick, just so we're clear.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, make sure, because I don't want our listeners to get the wrong idea. James doesn't already often search for transgenders in the military. That wasn't like a frequent search of his. Therefore, we had to type that in, and we didn't just have it already. James, that wasn't like a bookmark you had. Okay, so Bo, if people look that up for the first time, what are we going to find there, Chief?
So I'm going to. Important is just more so the date. There it is, right there. I'll click it again. But basically,
as you're hitting refresh, this will be very clear. James is a straight male for any of the single ladies out there. That just want to throw that out there.
So what I wanted to show you with that was June 2016. Okay, so let's do some math because Clay likes math and James likes math. Okay, so let's do 2016. Add 7 years for me. 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 2023 is right here, right now. So I want to play something for you, Clay and James, so you can understand the magnitude and have an understanding, because we are to discern the times and the seasons. That's written in Matthew. And I want to explain to you what 7 years is, because in end times, it keeps circulating 7 years. So the 7 years of evil we've seen in the world right now, because remember, from when Obama came in with transgenders, that was June. If you run 3.5 years, because what does he say? If you do Daniel 12:7, Daniel 12, because I know you like to, it is written, right? It will be for times and a half a time. So that's 3.5 years. So 3.5 years. So from Obama and transgenders in the military, that's 6 months. That would take you to the end of 2016. 3 years takes you to what? 2020. And oh, what a coincidence, 400-year cycle, Corona comes on the scene to the exact month. Okay, so Daniel 12:7 foretold exactly of what would happen, that January 2020 was a critical time point. And then you take us 3.5 years forward from Corona, took us to June, the end of June 2023. There's your 7 years of evil we've just witnessed, and now we're stepping into 7 years of plenty. So now that I will give you the timeline. So the timeline started in 2016. 7 years took us into the summer solstice of 2020. This past 2023, we've got it from June of 2023, summer solstice or the winter solstice, because what did Kim Clement prophecy say? This summer, I'm going to bring your enemies to the floor, which is what? The winter solstice, which is on the December 21, into Christmas, the 24th, 25th. So we have a pit. We only have roughly 5 weeks to go for historic things that are about to manifest. So now let's listen to this 2.5-minute prophecy by Kim Clement. So now that I've explained all that, let's listen closely to this prophecy, and you'll understand what Kim was saying in reference to time. Here we go.
Be on the flow. Okay.
For many that have cried out and said, God will destroy this nation, the Spirit says, may I remind you, the covenant that I made with this nation is immutable, is unchangeable. Do not forget the antiquity of the covenant that I made with this nation. Yes, they will be judged for the evil that they do, but can I take away a blessing that I have already imposed upon them? That I created and spoke before the world began, that I created and spoke over this nation to feed the world, to heal the earth. God says, yes, judgment will come, but it shall not come at this time in the fashion that they have spoken. They have said, there shall be a crash and America shall be crippled. God said, not at this time, not at this time, for I have raised you up for a season. And there shall be 7 years where I will take you out of your besiegement. You have been besieged for 7 years, America. You have been surrounded by your internal enemies. Haters of America have stood up. And then they have said, there are those in the church that are anti-Israel. I say to you that there are many, but there are many more that are in the church that are anti-America and anti what I am going to do in this nation. I will give you a president that shall bring some ease to your debt challenges, and I will take the wealth of the wicked and for a season transfer it into the hands of the righteous and those who have given and poured out their blessing into my land and to my people, says the Lord. It is not the time for the crash. It is not the time for the crippling of this nation. No, it's not. I commanded you to pray for this nation, not to curse it. And its due judgment will come when Israel comes to Yeshua. When Israel stands alone and nobody, not even this nation, stands with Israel. Look to that as the sign of my coming. But to this day now, it is not that time. I will bring an amount of restoration to this nation, and they shall be taken out of their siege that you've been in for 7 years, and give you one that shall rule, that shall take the finances and bring ease to the debt. And then the songs will come from all over this nation, from young people who deserve to sing my song that I put into this prophet for 4 decades, not to be wasted, but for them to sing as I let these sing from youth.
Wow.
So there you go. Okay, so I want people to understand the timing. This is not the time. You see, he even said that that the time when U.S. is not supporting Israel, that's when Jesus Christ is returning. Right now, United States is in the Middle East. They're supporting Israel to whatever degree, but there is support. This is not the time. And I gave you the time window. It was from when Obama let transgenders in the military. That started because Obama basically has an evil cycle to him, but he started the 7 years of evil, and look what happened. Look what happened for 7 years now, and that 7 years comes to an end now. Now. It's coming to an end right here, right now. We are stepping into days that you can't even imagine how awesome this is going to be. We're stepping into 7 years of plenty. So when I go on your stage all the time, Clay, what video that plays Isaiah 61, it talks about the year of the Lord's favor, which is 2023. But Jesus Christ never read the day of vengeance, because we're not in a time of judgment right now. Judgment comes in the tribulation. This is a time of vengeance. This is very clear and important to understand.
A reading from the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and recovery of sight to the blind, to the opening of the prison for those who are bound, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. The fulfillment of this scripture, as you have heard it, is today. This is the year of the Lord's favor. This is a year of jubilee, a year the poor, the brokenhearted, the captive, and the blind are offered redemption. Here, now.
Jesus, please explain why you stopped the reading before Isaiah spoke of the day of vengeance of our God.
The day of vengeance is in the future.
Presently, our world is in a time of vengeance. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. This is not, I'm repeating, not a time of judgment. We're stepping into a window of divine favor starting in 2024. I want to show you some math as well. We know we're in Revelation 12 sign. And I know, Clay, you believe we're in Revelation. And that's why Revelation 12 sign, we're in Revelation. It's written in Revelation 12 is written in Revelation. If you add, remember, you plow the fields for 6 years and you rest on the seventh. You work for 6 days and you rest on the seventh. The 6-day war, God's work was done. On the seventh day was a day of rest. From the Revelation 12 sign, let's confirm the math. Let's, like in school, let's double check the math. Clay wants to double check the math. 2017 Revelation 12 sign, 6 years. Oh, what a coincidence. 2023. We are stepping into the fall of Babylon, which is the birth, therefore going to result in the birth of a new era. We're stepping into the winter crux, shortest day of the year. That's why these people evil ones are getting squeezed right now. Every day is getting shorter for them. We know this is incredibly important. Romans 8:31, Clay, what does it say? If God is with us, who can stand against us? We overturned Roe v. Wade, fulfilling 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name humble themselves, check, pray, check, seek my face, check, and turn from their wicked ways. We overturned Roe v. Wade. We overturned the wickedness of killing the Creator's creation. And then there's a comma and then a then. Because you like facts. So the facts is, the then part, it says, we will hear from heaven. God will forgive our sins and he will what? Heal our land. So we are stepping into a time where God suddenly shows up, and we turn back to the covenant the founding fathers made with the Creator. Because a covenant, and Kim Clement spoke about the covenant, this covenant is immutable. The covenant the founding fathers made with God the Father is immutable. Therefore, they will never get the United States because the covenant is immutable. So God's about to step in and restore the covenant. Psalm 24 talks specifically about blessings and vindication. Blessings, Psalm 24, coincidentally, year 2024. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, and those who have clean hands and a pure heart, those who do not trust in idols or swear by false gods, will receive blessings and vindications from the God their Savior, the Lord Almighty, the King of glory. And so when you read blessings are 30, 60, 100-fold. Kim Clement spoke about Proverbs 13:22. What did he say in that video? The wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, which means that's the great wealth transfer. Where do we talk about the great wealth transfer? Right here, but specifically, and Julie Green talks about it as well too, but the great wealth transfer in the scriptures is what we said right here, the third seal of Revelation.
Now, Bo, I want to ask you this real quick here because I want to respect your time and I want to make sure that we can land the plane here. For a lot of our listeners, they listen to this, and I think there's 3 phases. And so phase number 1 is they look up all the facts that you share. Do you agree with that?
I do. I
If
do.
you're like, oh, what was that? It's Bo's a wild man just on a mission. So people look it up to verify, that kind of thing. Second thing is they're looking for practical solutions. And so I can tell people what I do. I tell people, look, Klaus Schwab is stating there is going to be a supply chain collapse. And Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the BRICS 11, they're all stating that they are going to be moving to a gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency. These are facts that are right out in the open. So for me, I recommend that you get out of the fiat currency before the collapse of the dollar. And I recommend that you stock up on food. So therefore, in the event of a supply chain collapse, you're not thinking about eating each other. I think it's important that you don't want to resort to cannibalism as the best practice move to survive the potential collapse of the supply chain. I'm serious. I mean, I think it's very important to do that. I recommend you stock up on food. And second, I recommend you schedule a consultation and learn more about getting out of the fiat currency. I mean, if Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're all hoarding the earth's gold, perhaps it would be wise to look into getting out of fiat currency. You can schedule a consultation at bh-pm.com. But Bo, do you agree with those things, or do you have a different strategy for people out there? What do you recommend, sir?
Exactly the same thing. So here's what's going to happen here is when the US dollar collapses, the banks are going to go down because remember, a debt jubilee means specifically debt destruction, but the debt destruction because silver is going to explode with gold. Silver is a bank killer. Banks are going to go under. People are going to lose millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Many are going to lose their account. This is going to be very scary what happens financially for those, but God's going to remove this idol worship of money. Okay. And so I know it's going to, it's like, yeah, it's not exciting, but on the other end of it, what you have to understand is the money system they've used to build and control humanity is Babylon. And so back to the money, the food, when the banks go down, so do your credit cards. When the banks go down, so does the wire system, the Fed wiring system. Is going to go down, which means that one, suppliers won't be able to get paid or pay each other. And as a result, if you don't get paid, guess what happens to the supply chain? It gets shut down. So the shelves will go bare for a while. So this is going to be a bit of a, it's like when a child's born, it's a bit of a learning curve. Okay, this is going to be a little bit painful for a while. So when the system goes down, the supply chain gets shut down, and then the shelves go bare for a while. So what Clay is saying about having some extra food is incredibly important because I'm telling you, scriptures are screaming that something big's about to happen in this world. Huge. God's about to intervene. When God intervenes, there's one word, shaking. Okay. When God intervenes, shaking. All the prophets have spoken the word shaking. What does that mean? Earthquakes, volcanoes. Kim Clement prophesied earthquakes, volcanoes. So shaking's coming, okay? And the shaking specifically is God intervening upon the world, but that shaking is also going to cause massive chaos within the financial system. So it's so incredibly important to have some extra food. So when these shakings are happening, you're at home at peace with your family. Period. The other thing you really want to be aware of as well is finances, okay? I'm telling you, Haggai 2, verse 8, Clay and I reference this scripture all the time. The silver and the gold are mine, saith the Lord. I've shown you charts that the Father revealed to me. I don't want glory for this. The Father revealed to me the historic cycle on the dollar. It's been 100% accurate. I've shown you the chart. I'm not hiding this from anybody. And it's down for years. The US dollar is heading down, okay? So if the US dollar is heading down, and we know the BRICS nations are about to attack it, if they attack in a single day, because the fallen is Babylon the Great. Her plagues will come in a single day. I think it's Revelation 18 or 13. But the point is, when God intervenes, the Babylon will fall, and the money, the Federal Reserve note, will fall with it in a single day. And what will be birthed in a single day, the biggest explosion, the biggest start of the bull market in gold and God's money, gold and silver. They're going to explode in price vertically. And it's going to be a historic time point for the world because that explosion marks the beginning of the greatest bull market, meaning an upcycle, the greatest bull market in human history on precious metals, because this will be the third seal moment of Revelation. So that's the big picture. So you want to be prepared with food and water, absolutely. And again, not everybody has means to buy gold and silver. This is not, a discussion to buy gold and silver. This is a discussion that the financial system is going to change. And if you don't understand history, if you don't understand prophecy, if you don't understand scriptures, I'm telling you, the financial system is going to go. It's going to flip. It's going to be a biblical moment in the financial system. So if you've prepared, God's going to bless those that have the means to prepare. He's going to bless it so big. The blessings are going to come in so big, 30, 60, 100-fold, that he's going to bless all of those as well who don't have the means to prepare financially.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.
The blessings are going to come in so big, 30, 60, 100-fold, that he's going to bless all of those as well who don't have the means to prepare financially.
Bo, you blow my mind every time. Thank you for carving out time for us again. What's your website if people want to learn more about you, or they want to send you hate mail or encouraging mail? Where's the best place to stay in touch with you there, sir?
Well, I definitely get both. I tell you one thing. I get so many people that love putting all these pieces together. I think it just gives people a sense of peace and comfort. That's the whole point is, understanding that there's nothing scary. God's always got his hand on his bride. So, fear not, God the Father is in complete control. My website is gold2020forecast.com, and that's my main website. And then from there, you can also go to YouTube and put my name in on YouTube. And that's how you can find me. So bottom line is, there's nothing to fear. But again, Satan lies, kills, steals, destroys. He's the father of lies. And the point is that, Jesus Christ comes to give us life more abundantly. So I want to finish on, fear not, God's in control, and don't fear what's going on in the world, but be wise stewards, prepare. Clay does incredible research on exposing what the evil agenda's plans are. He's the best and putting all the truths out there. I'm trying to give people an understanding of the timing, but ultimately we're not stopping what's coming. Ultimately, in the future, evil's coming back, and it's going to be horrific. And there, we've got the third seal in the future that's coming. I'm sorry, the fourth seal, which is plague and pestilence. Plague, if you Google bubonic plague killed 1/3 of Europe.
Wow.
1/3 of Europe, and that's the fourth horseman. But however, and this is not a fear thing, because those covered in the blood of Jesus Christ, fourth horseman, will never touch the bride.
Now, Bo, you were a chiropractor, is that right? I mean, that was your profession before you built a chiropractic practice. Is that accurate, sir?
Yes, I graduated near the top of my class, and I think the second youngest in my entire class. And then within graduation, within 45 years, I had one of the largest clinics here in Orange County, and it was I was working with all the different vendors across the state, the county. So it was a really wonderful business. And then I opened up several more clinics afterwards, and so I did that for about 20-something years.
And then you also invested heavily in Bitcoin early on and precious metals. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually got into cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin years ago when Bitcoin was around $200-300. So I made quite a few purchases. I loaded up on that pretty well. And I've been stacking. Again, I was using my cycle time analysis and patterns specifically that I studied on gold and silver, only to find out, my wife actually said, they're going to continue, which she was right about, because she's like, they're going to continue to manipulate silver and gold for a long time. And this is what we've seen. And the reason being, because if gold and silver ever explode in price, that means the dollar crashed. Okay. And so they'll never let the dollar crash until God intervenes. So we're in biblical times. This is about to happen now. But you'll notice that, Bitcoin started under $1 and now it's like $37,000 or $36,000. See, because it's on the blockchain and you have to mine Bitcoin, you cannot create it out of thin air like they can do paper contracts on silver and gold. So therefore, they can manipulate silver and gold incredibly well. They're so good at it. But when they lose control, it's going to explode like you've never imagined before. So the first target on silver is going to be potentially $60 to $70. Then ultimately next year, because blessings are 30, so that's what we're looking at least potentially $600 silver when the blessings. And again, all of this is predicated on God doing something, but we're in the 50th year now, so we're about to see historic things manifest. So I've been buying precious metals for a long time, yes, and I did get involved in Bitcoin years ago, and so God has allowed me this time to do all of this, and I put all these PDF slide decks presentation. God shows me things at nighttime at 3 a.m. usually when I wake up, and I've been putting all this information together for free for the world. Why? Because there's one thing written in the Bible. It's very clear. Yeah, it's the scripture. I forget the exact scripture, but if you have knowledge of something coming and you do not warn the bride, the blood will be on your hands. And so the point I'm trying to make is I'm trying to warn the world of what's coming.
Wow. Bo, and again, I want to be very clear, folks. Bo bought Bitcoin at $200. At that point when it was $200. Now Bitcoin is how much, Bo?
37,000,
which is more than $200. But also was the first person I heard say that the Roe versus Wade would be overturned, and it was. So there's just a lot. Bo always hops on the show, blows my mind. It takes me, I have to listen to the show usually twice after the show to understand what he was talking about. So I'm going to go get myself a swirly and get prepared for the next show. Bo Polny, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate your research. We'll talk to you soon.
God bless you both.
Take care. So a lot of your wonderful listeners, they listen to your show where you talk about buying precious metals, and I'm sure many of them do buy precious metals and many of them don't. Meanwhile, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they've been hoarding the earth's gold in preparation to introduce a gold-backed programmable central bank digital currency. Don't believe me, folks, look it up. It'll be based in Shanghai, China. It's called the New Development Bank, and this will be a new financial system. And now there's BRICS 11. You have Saudi Arabia joining, you have Dubai joining. So what's happening is the US dollar, which was only tethered to this thing called the petrodollar beginning in the early 1970s, Saudi Arabia has now left the petrodollar. So folks, this just in, we have a petrodollar with no petro.
71 was when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. So 72, I'm flying this thing in Vietnam, and we don't know what gold is. It was illegal for Americans to own gold in 72. So my co-pilot and I flew behind enemy lines through the only gold mine we knew of, the NVA, North Vietnamese Army, has overrun the gold mine already. And we had to go try and buy gold. So this is what happens. So this here is an ounce of gold.
Yep.
This here is a US dollar. Back in 1972, when I was flying behind enemy lines, this thing cost 35 of these. So this piece of gold here costs 35 of these. Today, this thing here costs 2,100 of these. Now, did this get bigger or did this get more worthless? And what's happening to most people, Clay, as you know, they'd rather have this than this. And the one more thing is this here is a silver eagle, a silver Indian head nickel. It's only 35 bucks. Everybody in the world that I know of, kids can afford 35 bucks.
On December 15th and 16th, the Reawaken America Tour heads 30 miles south of Fresno, California, which is only a brief 23-hour and 15-minute drive away from Tulsa, Oklahoma, to beautiful Tulare, California, to the majestic International Agri Center. Because you know what they say, Christmas in Tulare is hilarious. Yes, 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 and yes. On December 15th and 16th, General Flynn, Eric Trump, Kash Patel, Devin Nunes, Dr. Stella Emanuel, Dr. Simone Gold, Laura Trump, Mike Lindell, Pastor Leon Benjamin, Jim Brewer, and Team America take the Reawaken America Tour into beautiful Tulare, California. And with 70-plus speakers over a 2-day event, this incredible December 15th and 16th Reawaken America Tour is going to blow your mind. And did I mention that Mel K, Julie Green, and Amanda Grace will be up in the place?